At 78 years old, Daniel had stopped expecting birthday wishes. His friends were gone. His wife had passed away 3 years earlier, and his only son, Michael, had not spoken to him in 17 years. But on Daniel's birthday, something arrived at his front door, a small white envelope. There was no return address. Daniel picked it up with trembling hands. Then he saw the handwriting. His son's handwriting. The same handwriting Daniel had not seen in 17 years. And beneath Michael's name were 5 words that made Daniel's heart stop. Dad, please forgive me. Daniel Miller lived alone in a small house in Ohio. The house wasn't beautiful. The paint on the front porch was peeling. Kitchen window had a crack in one corner. And the old wooden dining table had only one chair beside it. Now, but Daniel loved that house. It was the house where he had raised Michael. Every morning, Daniel woke at 6. He made 1 cup of coffee. He opened the curtains and he looked at the empty chair across the kitchen table. For years, that chair had belonged to his wife, Susan. After she died, Daniel never moved it. Sometimes he still caught himself talking to her. "Good morning, Susan." Then he would smile sadly. "Coffee's ready." But there was another person Daniel thought about every morning. Michael, his only son. Daniel hadn't heard his voice in 17 years. 17 years earlier, Michael had been 29. He wanted to leave Ohio and move to California. Daniel hated the idea. "You're throwing your life away," Daniel had told him. Michael had shouted back, "You never believe in me." Daniel remembered those words even after all those years. That night, they had their worst argument. Michael packed a suitcase. Daniel stood by the front door. "If you walk out tonight," Daniel said angrily, "don't expect me to come running after you." Michael stared at him. For several seconds, neither father nor son spoke. Then Michael whispered, "Maybe that's exactly what I need," and he left. The door closed. Daniel expected him to return. The next morning, he didn't. A week passed, then a month, then a year. Daniel waited, but Michael never came home. Now, 17 years later, Daniel sat at his kitchen table holding that envelope. His hands were shaking. He opened it slowly. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Daniel read the first line. "Dad, I don't know if you'll ever forgive me." He stopped, his eyes filled with tears. Then he continued, "I was angry when I left. I thought you didn't love me. But the truth is, I was too proud to come back." Daniel lowered the letter. He looked toward the empty chair. For 17 years, he had imagined Michael living somewhere in California, getting married, having children, building a life, maybe forgetting him completely. But the letter continued. "There is something I should have told you years ago." Daniel's heart began beating faster. Michael explained that 3 years after leaving home, he had become seriously ill. He had spent months in a hospital. He had almost died. And during those lonely months, he realized something. He missed his father. More than anything, he wrote Daniel a letter. He wrote everything. He wanted to say he apologized. He told his father that he loved him, and he promised to come home. But he never mailed the letter. Why? Because he was afraid. Afraid that Daniel would reject him. Afraid that too, much time had passed. Afraid that his father no longer wanted him. So Michael kept the letter. Years passed. Then another and another. He wrote many letters, but he never sent them until now. Daniel wiped his eyes. Then he reached the final paragraph. "Dad, if you're reading this, I'm finally ready to tell you the truth." Daniel stopped breathing for a moment. Michael had not been living in California. He had been living only 2 hours away. For the last 4 years, he had been working at a small hospital in a nearby town. Daniel couldn't believe it. His son had been close all these years. His son had been close. Michael wrote, "I saw you once, Daniel's." Hands became cold. It had happened 2 years. Earlier, Michael had driven past Daniel's house. He had seen his father's old truck in the driveway. He had wanted to stop. He had wanted to knock. But he couldn't. He drove away, and that was the moment Michael realized something. They could spend the rest of their lives waiting for the other person to make the first move. Or one of them could finally be brave. Daniel finished reading the letter. He sat quietly for several minutes. Then he heard something. Knock. Knock. Daniel looked toward the front door. His heart began pounding. Nobody visited him, not anymore. He slowly stood up. He walked toward the door. Another knock. Daniel placed his hand on the doorknob. For a moment, he couldn't move. Then he opened the door. A man stood on the porch. His hair was gray. His face was older. But Daniel knew those eyes. He knew them. Immediately, it was Michael. Daniel stared at his son. Michael looked at his father. Neither said a word. Then Michael whispered, "Happy birthday, Dad." Daniel's lips began to tremble. "You came?" Michael nodded. "I should have come 17 years ago." Daniel looked at him. Then he stepped forward and hugged his son for the first time in 17 years. That evening, Daniel placed 2 plates on the dining table. For years, there had been only one. Michael sat in the old chair, the same chair he had used as a child. Daniel looked at him and smiled. "You still sit exactly the same way." Michael laughed. "I guess some things never change." They talked for hours. They talked about the argument, the missed birthdays, the letters, the years they had both wasted, and finally, Daniel said something Michael had been waiting 17 years to hear. "I was wrong." Michael looked down. Daniel continued, "I thought being a father meant protecting you from making mistakes." He paused, "But sometimes being a father means letting your son make his own mistakes and still leaving the door open." Michael's eyes filled with tears. "I was wrong too, Dad." Daniel reached across the table. "I know." And for the first time in 17 years, there was no anger between them, only forgiveness. Years later, Michael would tell his own children about that birthday. He would tell them about the old house, the cracked kitchen window, the wooden table, and the father who waited 17 years without knowing if his son would ever return. But Daniel always remembered something different. He remembered the envelope, the 5 words written beneath his son's name. "Dad, please forgive me. Sometimes people don't leave because they stop loving us. Sometimes they leave because they're afraid. Afraid to apologize. Afraid they waited too long. Afraid the door is already closed. But sometimes all it takes is one knock, one phone call, one letter, one brave moment. So if there is someone in your life you've been waiting to call, don't wait 17 years, because sometimes the person you're waiting for may be waiting for you too. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to Heartfelt Years. Here, every story reminds us that love, family, forgiveness, and second chances are never too late.